Hello? Are we on? I don't know if we're on. I think we're definitely on now. Hello everyone, how's it going? Are we doing good today? It is a happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Second Sunday of the year. Pretty crazy. We're already on the 10th day of 2021. So, this year's going by so fast. Can't believe it's already been 10 days. What's my favorite Cinderella movie? I haven't seen any of them, so I don't know. You should know this if you watched Miraculous Monday like a week ago. Merry Christmas. It's not Christmas. That was like a month ago maybe. Nah, not that much, but like 2 or 3 weeks ago. All right, starting off with the pin. That's good. Yes, 355 days left until the next year. So 2022. All right, today we're doing the king again. Because the king is a very important character, the main antagonist. So, you know, I can't really have a good story without a good king, or a good antagonist, I should say. The king doesn't have to be the antagonist; we just choose to make him the antagonist. Okay, do we have any questions before we get started today? Because I don't know, we're just chilling today. I think this is going to be a more chill stream. I don't know. We have some questions to answer. I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't think it's going to take as long. Questions related to page turner. Now is not the time to be asking unrelated page turner questions. Questions that are unrelated to page turner. Okay, well I have not seen any, so I think, are we ready to move on? I think that's maybe the question we should be asking, is if we're ready to move on, versus do we have any questions before we start? Ready to get started, that's the better way to put it. Yes, okay, there we go. There's the first, there was the yes I was waiting for. Okay, let's go ahead and do the old switcheroo here. And here we are. We've got some questions to answer. And then here's some beautiful art from Ralunix. And I really like this design. I really like this design for the king. He looks very evil. And I don't know... It depends on if we make him have like a super evil personality. But he could just look evil. But also, fun fact... We actually named the king Valari in the first stream for the king. Fun fact, I guess. I think everyone forgot about that. King Valari. That may have also just been a temporary name, but well, not necessarily King Nadia. I completely forgot. I completely forgot about us naming the king. King Valari. It's not a bad name though. I could vibe with that. Does Valari have a special meaning? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. In the last King stream, we went through some basic questions like what does he want, what does he need, and what is his goal. But in this stream, we're going to be talking more about his mindset behind maybe some of these reasonings, as well as just his personality, because I think we sort of have an idea of what his personality is, but we just need to write it down and set it in stone, because it hasn't been, I don't think we've officially made like a personality description for him yet. So that's something we have to do. So maybe we should just get started with the personality. So does anyone have a good way to describe his current personality? Like, or just ideas on his personality in general? Because in my mind, the king is, he believes very strongly in his ideals and his beliefs that he chose to adopt. And a lot of them are based upon his past. And obviously his father was an abusive father, so he has a negative connotation associated with humans, which is why he chose to separate himself from them, because he just assumed that all humans were bad because the one that possibly had the most impact on his life was bad. So that's sort of why he chose to distance himself. So that's the reasoning behind that. And that could also play into his personality a bit. Like one bad experience could define how he looks at a group of people or a activity or a subject or something like that. Maybe his perceptions are just wrong. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. I never really thought of him as evil, like, haha, I want to make everyone's life a lot worse, right? I don't think that's what he wants, because I don't know if we wrote his past here. I don't think his past was written here. I have no idea where that was written, because I feel like we had a longer description on the past. But from what I remember about his past is the current king, that his mother was one of the guardians. And so the current king was sort of just like, he wasn't a very good king. He was very mean, and the mom wasn't treated very well and things like that. And so the King Valari, he saw this and was like, I definitely, like, if I could just be king, I could make the world a much better place and not have people, you know, suffer just for the king's, like, happiness or whatever like that. So I think that's sort of where his ideals sort of sprouted from, and that's why he was like, okay, I'm going to essentially, like, overturn the kingdom and become the next king, because that's what I'm gonna do. Of course, I think first he became the chosen one and then worked his way up through the ranks. I think that would make more sense as well. So if he became a chosen one and got pretty close with the old king and then just betrayed him and then became the new king and started making all these reforms, I think that is a good way to explain how he got to the power that he's at. Especially since his mom is already a chosen one, it makes sense that she might want to pass it down to him. And so he got a lot of experience seeing the current king, and he was like, I definitely don't want to be like that. So I want to be a good king and one that the people can rely on and things like that. Obviously some of his his ideals and stuff faltered a little bit with time, but that was what started that. And so anyway, the point of that is saying, I think his personality should not necessarily be evil, but he pushes his beliefs onto others because he believes that is the correct belief, and which that causes a lot of conflict. It's not necessarily evil. He thinks it's what's best for people when it's really not. So that's the issue that I think his beliefs kind of blend his personality. I mean, yeah, that's sort of his personality and his beliefs go hand in hand, which I think a lot of people, that's the same way. Okay, here's the thing. He's also willing to do evil acts if it's for what he believes is right in the end. Headstrong beliefs that he refuses to change. That's a good way to put it. King is an ultra boomer. Yeah. Like the end describes the means? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. But the king's personality is really going to define how he rules, I think. He wants to have total control, not for the sake of having total control like a lot of evil villains are portrayed in other forms of media and stuff like that. But he wants total control because he believes he can make the people's lives better. And that's the problem, is because he wants to push his beliefs and what he feels is best for people onto them instead of letting them think about what they want and come up with collectively what they think is the better option as a group. That's sort of like how a democracy works. And he doesn't want that because he believes what he believes is correct. So. So basically not a villain, just does what he thinks is best. Yes, I think that is a very good way to put it. I don't know if that's necessarily what we would put under the personality. Maybe it is, but he wants reality to be shaped like his head puts it, and in his head everything works out perfectly. But obviously you can't, it doesn't work like that. Plans never almost never work 100%. So it's always, he believes what he thinks is right, and that's it. Like, you can't convince him. You cannot convince him otherwise unless if he's open to being convinced or open for suggestions. Like the Whisperers, if he's like, all right, anyone got any suggestions? The Whisperers will be able to suggest things, but if it's on a topic that he firmly believes, he is not budging, and he will not be like, anyone have any suggestions on this, because he is completely firm in his beliefs. Stubborn, yes. That's another good word. Hardworking. And wants the best for Ilaria. That's stubborn. Basically, he wants to shape everyone's future and beliefs, but to other people it might be bad. Yes. But here's the thing. The Ilarians have always just lived that way. They have lived the way that the king wants them to sort of live. maybe not like completely, because the king can't control every single person and stuff like that. But the society that the king has created, he believes is acceptable because there's very few people rebelling against him. Everything's working, at least, like there's not too many internal conflicts and stuff like that. And he thinks that everyone's living a pretty happy life, which I would agree, they probably are. But he needs to be removed, and he needs to... Luna and Nico need to come in here and take over for the sake of the future, not necessarily that the king is a bad king. He has done evil acts in the past, but he's a relatively good king. It's just time for them to get rid of the king and establish a democracy, so that way they can move forward, because they are stuck in the past. He never gives up on his dreams. Yes. He has been around for a very long time. So he has, and he has been able to make adjustments to society based on that. But I don't think things have changed very much. I think they've pretty much stayed constant, because in his head this is maybe what he imagined from the very start. Okay, anyone else have any... He's wise. I would say he's wise, but at the same time, he is also somewhat ignorant, because he lets his beliefs shape reality instead of letting reality shape the beliefs, if that makes sense. And there's probably some big arguments you can have with which one is better. I think a good mix of both is good, because you have to have certain beliefs that you want to, that can make the reality a better place, but also you have to be realistic and they both have to converge. But the thing is, the king is so focused on what he believes is right that it's just, he turns that into a reality, and that could potentially be a lot worse than what reality should be. And so that's why he is the way he is. And that's why things are starting to go downhill a little bit, because Luna and Nico are making waves in the ocean that is the world. Would he be humble? I don't know. I think that's the more important part. Everything here we already sort of knew. We knew that he was a very idealistic person. He believed in his ideals very strongly. The other thing that we don't know, though, is how he treats other people, what his interactions with other characters will be like. So that's definitely something we will have to talk about. But as far as his personality goes, does anyone else have any other suggestions? Just a second, let me get some water. Ah. Maybe another one would be obstinate. Yeah, that's another good one. Does he know about Ilaria dying? Okay. I don't... That's a good question. I would assume that he would sort of have some idea that things are not working. Here's the thing. I don't know how Luna figures out that Ilaria's using too much magic and that's not good for the core or whatever we decide to make it. But if Luna can figure it out, I assume the king could figure it out. Or maybe the Whisperers figure it out, but just don't tell the king, because the king is sort of aloof in his own world there. And I assume he's got a lot of stuff to do maybe with his own island, especially considering it has some problems. So maybe he's just so busy that he hasn't paid attention to it. Either that, or he just doesn't care. He's just like, you know what? It's fine. I don't care if the magic dies out and that causes our society to crumble. Either way, Luna figures this out somehow and is like, this is a problem. The king needs to do something about it. The best way might actually be to have a whisperer. The whisperers know this and they realize this somehow. I don't know how. But Luna and Nico's first interaction with a whisperer, for whatever reason, I don't know what it would necessarily be, but this could be before they're like, okay, we need to start advancing on the king. I don't know when that switch happens, when they're like, okay, let's start overthrowing the king. I don't know when that happens. At some point, they're going to, I think it was something to do with Blake, and Blake telling them what's up with the king. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And so that's sort of like, okay, let's start doing something against the king because he has done these bad things. But at some point along the line, it needs to shift also to the future is not going to look good if he remains in power, because he's not doing anything about this big problem that's not necessarily a problem right now, but will become one in the future. So somewhere along the line, they need to realize this, and they need to be like, oh shoot, here's another big reason for doing what we're doing, and plan accordingly to that. Okay, I'll read the chat, relax. If he didn't know, then it wouldn't be bad. He would just be ignorant, so he should know. Okay. Oh, yeah. I think Luna and Nico would find out from Blake, who could find clues from his research and time as whisperers. Okay, finding out from Blake too also works. That would just mean that Blake would tell them pretty much everything as far as, you know, the king has been killing people to regain his lifespan, as well as there's this other big problem that needs to be solved. So if Blake wants either that, or Blake could continue his research and find that out at a later point, I think it would be better to break that up, because I feel like we could have there could be a good little while where they're just like, okay, this king's kind of a bad person, you know, he's killing people to stay alive, you know, that's not very good, right? And so they're going against it for that reason. And then at some point, Blake's also like, oh shoot, I just found out that Ilaria is going to come to an end because we're using too much magic soon, and we need to put regulations, and we need to, I think he explains that he thinks the best way to fix the issue would be to incorporate some of Earth's technology, you know, like cars and things like that, so that way they wouldn't have to rely so much on magic, which is sort of the whole idea of it. And so he's like, this is what we should do. And then Luna and Nico are like, okay, this is actually serious, because the Earth is not doing too hot either. Like, there's climate change issues, you know, pollution issues, and then they're like, a lot of this stuff could be solved if we just adopted some magic stuff too. So then they're like, this would be the best way to solve those issues. Yeah. Yeah, I think what we should do is have Blake explain first, like during that Blake versus Luna and Nico arc final battle at the end of season 1. I think that's when they should sort of team up and start going after the king, because he is killing people to stay alive. Like that's not right. That's why they're going after him for that reason. I don't know at what point Blake finds out, but I think Blake should continue to be doing research and find out little bits of information along the way. And then eventually, it would also be cool if Blake is finding out these little bits of information And then the viewer could maybe take those pieces of information and start maybe realizing that something big is happening to Ilaria. Like I don't know, maybe Blake finds out that over the past 100 years, this certain species of plant has gotten weaker and weaker with their magic elements. And then if there's just consistent signs of this everywhere, then they could start to piece together that, hey, life is dying on Ilaria because the magic life force that these plants require to live is being sucked up and used by the actual Ilarians instead of it being dispersed equally throughout the planet. And that means that they could maybe assume that the magic is being overused. And then when that big news comes, the viewers could be like, hey, I sort of thought maybe this was a cool thing that could happen. And then it's like, hey, I was right. Stuff like that. What species is the king? King is half human, half some Ilarian. I think we should just make him elf. I think that might be one of the easier things to do. I mean, if anyone else has any other suggestions, that's fine too. Elf is just a pretty easy one to say, so. Or maybe he finds costumes of their species on Earth and thinks, why did they do that? Oh, okay. Oh, as far as in the past, why there's a connection between the species on both Ilaria and Earth, like why there's humans on Ilaria. Wasn't it demon? I think we decided against the demon thing. I don't think. Yeah, I think we decided against the demons. Might be slow changes like the crystals in the cave island are dimming, or the plants are slowly disappearing and dying. Yeah. Things like that. Things that everyone should be able to notice, but nobody really pays enough attention to where it's like, hey, this is a big issue, right? King has one elf ear and one human ear. He cut the human ear tip off, acts like he lost it in battle, pretends he is a full elf. Interesting. I kind of like that. Like, why are there costumes of mermaids and elves on Ilaria when Earth shouldn't know about them? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's... Yeah, Earth shouldn't know about them, but they do because the two planets were connected at some point. Living together. He was a common species and the people wouldn't see him as a god. It's kind of hard to not make him look like a specific species. Like, I think just a human-ish looking species is good. And there are probably other species with pointy ears as well. So, and plus, I don't know, I wouldn't think Ilarians would see the king very often. He probably stays more to himself and only talks, you know, from his castle maybe. I would assume that he does not go out very frequently. So. I assume that he would mostly be in his castle. I mean, that could be completely wrong, but I would think that he's pretty disconnected from society at this point. The elite knights are more of the face of Ilaria. Like, they're constantly out there. They're making, you know, everyone in the public knows about the elite knights, right? Obviously, everyone knows about the king as well, but when you think about the higher ups, the first person that comes to mind is probably your favorite elite knight, because that's just who's out in the public more often, right? People just sort of forget, like, oh yeah, the king's there. He does stuff, I guess. I don't know. They don't really know what he does, but they know he's there. They care more about the elite knights because they have more of a presence, I would think. He could go around, though. He should be connected with Ilaria. We could do that. That's what I just said is what I thought. That's just what was in my head this entire time. But if we wanted him to go around and the people know him and the people like him, I guess, that's also an option. That's just not what was in my head. Goes out every month, yeah. I would think at some point he would have to show his demonstration of power, so that way people are like, this is why we follow him. Kings could still have propaganda, so like the Whisperer saying to the public how good he is and how good things he does for people. Yeah. He needs some way to get the people to have a positive rep of him. I don't know how that is, but they need to. They don't really care about the king, but they kind of worship him. That's true. That is sort of like a conflicting vision or idea. I don't know if they would necessarily worship him, but I think they would see him as a god and someone who cannot be touched. I think that's more of how I would put it. What if the king sometimes goes out as a whisperer? That could be interesting. That'd actually be kind of funny. And then he could like go to one of the extra islands and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And it could just be like a whole like episode or something of him just like going around, and then his like, ugh, dang it, I can't believe these people I've elected to be these forefronts. Except there's no one better. So you're just like a little angry that there's no one else better for the job. They're not good enough for him, but there's no one else better, so he has to live with them. And then it would be kind of funny to see him frustrated. Okay. Let's get back to the document here. What's the king's importance to the story? He's the king. This is a pretty self-explanatory question, I think. He is the king. I think for now, unless if anyone comes up with a better way to put this. I mean, like he's the main antagonist. That's sort of his importance. His importance is who he is. There's not really a good way to write that. Okay, what are his interactions with the other characters? Luna and Nico like. I think this is a good question, because we know that he's stubborn and we know that he has his beliefs that he believes in. But as far as how he interacts with other people, is he funny? Is he friendly? Is he nice? We need to decide that, because sure, he has his beliefs and he'll do whatever he needs to make those beliefs a reality. But that's only part of his personality. We still have to, and this is the part that we don't really know. We don't know how he interacts with people, and we don't know, like when he's just talking with people and the Whisperers and Luna and Nico, what that is going to feel like. Like, does he feel more like a wacky character? Does he feel very serious and stern? What are we thinking here? Sarcastic and brutal. Nice and friendly to Ilarians. And then also, that also brings up the question, does he wear a mask in public? Like, is his personality actually not very good? And he just pretends to be a nicer guy in front of the public, so that way they think he's... I don't think he would, because of the previous king that he despises. I think he would... I think he has a good sense of wanting to be a likable person. And I think that his past sort of goes into play there. So I would not think he would wear a mask, but he possibly could, depending on what we decide to do. Be a little more serious when he needs to be, but other than that, he's good. Okay. So, like, what would a typical conversation feel like with the king? Would it be like he's sarcastic and he's very relaxed and he's fun? It's like, yes, this is fun. Let's continue talking. Or is it like he's just very straight to the point, doesn't like talking? I think it's always good to have a villain that likes to talk. Because if the villain doesn't like to talk, then it's just a boring villain. Or a more serious villain. That could also be it. I guess it depends on if you're going more serious or more fun. Calming and threatening. I'm just trying to think in my head what the final interaction between Luna and Nico and the king is going to be. Like, is the king going to be intimidating and he's going to be like having a serious conversation with Luna and Nico before they all do an all-out battle or whatever? Or is it going to be like the king's just sort of like making jokes with them and he's just sort of like toying with them at first? I think he should be more serious. I want a villain that feels like a villain. Like, I know he's not evil, but I want him to feel like he's a villain. And I want... like, I really like characters that I am scared of. Like Lalan, the Whisperer. Like, I am genuinely scared of him. And I want the king to sort of be like that. Maybe not as much. Like, I think he's a lot more scary than the king. But I want to feel intimidated when he is ready for battle. Like, he always looks like he's ready for battle. Like, but he looks a little bit more relaxed and calm right now. But I want him to, if he like looks into your soul and glares at you, it's like, oh geez, I'm terrified now. I don't know. That's sort of, maybe it's just because I really like characters like that. I like feeling intimidated and feel like a character's actually a threat instead of being like, oh, the characters are just gonna win, you know, because that's how the nature of it is. And it would maybe also be funny if the king, like I don't know who it would be, but maybe like one of the whisperers is like, you know, king, you need to lighten up a little bit, you know, have some more fun in your life, because the whisperers I feel like would all be pretty chill with the king and just sort of like push him around a little bit, but they would obviously know his limits, so they wouldn't go past that, because then they're like, they could die, you know. So they would just like sort of have fun with the king, and maybe that the king sort of takes enjoyment in that. Like maybe he likes funny things, and like he likes feeling included. You know, he can be lonely sometimes, and he wants to have a good group of people that he can just relax with, right? But the whispers could be like, you know, king, you need to have some more fun in your life. You know, maybe try cracking some jokes every once in a while. And so it could just be like this funny interaction when we see the king, and he's like, he tries making a joke. It's like it totally is a bomb, like it totally drops, and then the whispers are just sitting there in silence, and then they're like, they start laughing because of how bad the joke is, and not that the joke was funny or something. It's like, good try, king. I think that could be funny. Where he's like, he's trying, and this face is just sort of like a not, he doesn't look like he can make a funny joke, but it definitely looks like he might try to, just because like people are like, you're not funny at all, you need to work on that. I don't know. That would be kind of funny. Sarcastically brutal when it makes him look better to his people, to humans, outlaws, etc. But to lawful Ilarians, sarcastic and relaxed. When it comes to something serious, straightforward. Like if someone makes a joke in a serious setting, he would give them a death stare and discipline them lightly. I think the general consensus the public should have is that he is a serious guy, but maybe that's just what he looks like. Like he looks sort of evil, and I think the public should acknowledge that. But based on his actions, like he could give out a lot of medals, and like, you know, the public could see him as a good ruler, and so they would be like, he just looks scary. He just looks scary. You know, he's actually a nice guy, and he talks seriously. But in deep down, he's a nice guy. I think that's what the public should view him as. As far as, like, obviously they see him as a god, and nothing's gonna change that. But as far as his personality goes, they're gonna see him and be like, you know, he looks a little evil, but he's good deep down on the inside. Is it a mask? I don't know. Some of the things he would tell the public and do probably is a lot more of a mask, but he feels that it's necessary. Like he, let's say for example, he gives out awards each month, like, here's the top 50 people on Ilaria or whatever. I don't know what he'd give out awards for, but he could do that. That would make the public image of him go up. However, he only does that because he thinks that it'll make his image go up, right? Like, he only does it for that reason, which I don't know if you'd consider that a face, but he does that because he thinks he gains from it, and if he did not think he gains from it, he probably would not do it otherwise. But he probably does value being a good king, and a king that people can look up to. I don't know, I would disagree. I think I think this face is fine. I mean, we haven't fully decided on what his public image is yet. But if this is what he looks like and the public sees that and is like, he looks evil, but he's good deep down. Like we've seen our entire lives, like, he's a good guy, right? And you could also say, like he, like, obviously I don't think he's smiling in these. So he could smile, look a little nicer when he goes out into the public, but this is just sort of his resting face, is sort of like a frown. You could think if the people like him and the people are happy from rewards, then it makes Ilaria better, which will enhance his ideals. Yeah. He cares more about his actions versus his own appearance. So even though he maybe looks a little evil, he's like, the people shouldn't... And he could publicly acknowledge this too. Like if he tries, you know, making a joke, the public could be like, oh, that's so funny. He tried making a joke. He can't do that. But they're like, you know, he tries to. You know, he's... we think he's good deep down. It's more of a, I know what people want me to be and get my goals done. Not really what I want now. Okay. I mean, maybe I'm not very good with identifying faces. If you think you have a better face that would fit. Okay, here's the thing though. We have not confirmed that that's what the king's personality is going to be. Let's do that now. What do we want? Do we want him to be stern and serious, but a chill guy that wants to be liked and tries to improve on his social skills, but he's not a very social person? I don't view him as a very social person. Typically, if he was social, you would think he'd be holding like a lot of parties, and he just not. That does not. I don't have that image of him in my mind. Because when it comes down to it, and he's up against Luna and Nico, he'll just be his normal self, where he's like calm and like serious. And then when he gets like actually serious, like when he's actually like, okay, Luna and Nico are out here to overthrow me, then it's like he could get maybe a little mad and maybe be like, you don't want to see me when I'm actually serious. And then it could be kind of scary. What's the real king? I think it's just like he is serious. I think he wants to have a relatively relaxed life, but he refuses to have one because he believes in his ideals too much, and he just thinks like there's so much to do. He's a good motive, but is bad at fulfilling them because he thinks he's helping others. He should be more friendly, genuinely. Once threatened, he should become more brutal and ruthless. That's not a bad idea. Because we have to keep in mind the past. He saw this king who was sort of like a party animal. The king didn't really care about the citizens. He just, you know, wanted to live the best life that he could. Eat all of the chicken and have all the wine and whatnot, right? And what's what's his name? King Valari. King Valari would see this and be like, this is not who a king should be. A king should be someone who's serious and actually wants to make the lives of people better. And so he thinks that in order to have a king, the king has to actually be a good king and be good at what he does. And so he thinks that a king that is less in the public but actually gets things done is better than a king that's just like, you know, I have a good appearance, but I'm not actually all that good. And I think the people of Ilaria would realize that. So it doesn't, he could look completely evil, but that's okay. Because they realize that, you know, just because he looks evil doesn't mean that he's a bad king. Like, he's a good king. I don't think he's a party person. I don't... Because with his past... I don't know. I guess I just have a specific scene in my mind in the past. When they were at a party and the mom was there. And then the mom brought the king... Or King Valari. They brought him there. And then he saw the true nature of the king, like a party animal, and then he despised it. And that is forever ingrained in his memory. Doesn't want a high profile, because he doesn't want to become as careless as his predecessor. So he may appear more evil, but he's just trying to stay loyal. Right. What if he is defensive? He's defensive a lot, like... What do you mean by that? Oh, I misspoke. My apologies. That could be kind of fun. I think the people need someone they can relate to. Right? Because if you can relate to the person you're looking up to, then it's like, I feel more connected to that person. To that person, and I feel more loyal to them. And so I feel like the people on Ilaria should view him less as like, you know, this evil authority who's ruling over their lives, but more as like a, you know, he's there, like sure he's a king, but he's also like, he's a good guy and he wants the best for us, and his personality is like, you know, he tries making jokes, like he's not the best social person. But at least he's trying, but he values better. He values more things. He doesn't value, you know, the perfect appearance, the perfect king appearance. He values action and policy, and I think the people will realize that and be like, yes, this is why we like him. So Lalan gave him confidence issues with critiquing his writing. Maybe. I kind of like that. I think that's funny if he gets defensive, because then if like, sure, you could do that, and then also like that would explain why he's trying to make jokes even though he literally cannot. He can, if I don't know, Solstice is like, you know, King, you should try to liven up a little bit. You know, you're kind of a downer. And then the king's like, what? I can be funny. I can just watch. I'll come up with a good joke. And then later he does, and then everyone just starts laughing because of how bad the joke was. That could be funny. Social introverts exist. That's true. I think I would say I'm an introvert, but I also like having social interaction with people. So I would say I am a semi-social introvert. So. Why you make him cute just to get him dead? I made a picture of Solstice. You really don't want the king to die. I think Mr. Fu brought up a good point earlier, saying that he has to die for the notebooks to be passed on. In which case, I think that's a good point. Sometimes characters have to die, and that's just, it's sad. I know. But I want it to be very impactful, and I want it to, I don't know, I think it would be best for the final battle, because the king, I think here's how the king's mentality should go. I think the king at first is like, you know, he's in this serious, he's like in this normal serious state. He's like, Luna and Nico are here. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to deal with them real quick and then get back to my life. But as soon as he senses that his ideals are in danger and that he's actually in danger somewhat, I'm going to do whatever I need to make sure that my way is maintained, state gets set on. And so he goes from this, like, I'm pretty calm and relaxed, to this really serious mode. And this is when we get that, like, intense, like, aura coming from him. And Luna and Nico are like, uh-oh, this is gonna get serious, right? And so, he goes into this do or die situation, and Luna and Nico realize, like, this is a kill or be killed situation. Like, even though if they don't want to kill the king, right, and they want him to peacefully surrender, the king has already entered this state of kill or be killed, because he senses that everything that he has tried to create for the past 1,000 years or so is in danger. And I think that's sort of the belief that he had. Like I think that's who he is as a character, is he believes so strongly that he's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that those core beliefs are intact. Everything else, he's just sort of chill, right? So most of the time, since he's already established, you know, the society that he wants, he's mostly chill, because there's no real big threats to his society that he views right now. But as soon as his way of life gets threatened, he goes into this do or die situation. At least that's what I would think. And so Luna and Nico sense this and are like, all right, well, guess we're gonna have to get our hands dirty. Although I think it might make more sense for Blake or Callisto to do the final blow, so that way Luna and Nico don't have to kill anyone, you know. But Blake is already the serious one. I mean, you can have more than one serious character. But the king's thing is more of like an obsession, I think. He's more obsessed with his beliefs. It could also be interesting, I don't know how soon we want to get Callisto back, but it might be interesting if you have to kill the king to get Callisto back, and that's why Blake wants to kill the king. I feel like the king is going to go through a character arc. The only way I can see us not having to kill the king is if the king, which I don't, this is a very big stretch. It's if the king realizes that what he has done is wrong, or he admits defeat and then relinquishes the books. That's the only way I can see us doing the story without having to kill the king. Because at the end of the day, I think the books are the biggest thing that determine this. Like, originally, I only wanted to kill the king if it was absolutely necessary, or if we had, like, a good reason to. But for the sake of the books, and having to get the books to Nico and Luna, or in this case, Blake and Callisto, because they will be the guardians until Luna and Nico become worthy guardian holders. You expect someone that's kept his beliefs for thousands of years to just change them? Yeah, That's the thing. It doesn't make sense. It would only be if the king has this weird character trait that, like, if he has been defeated, he accepts that defeat. But I don't see that in his character. You know what I want to see? I want to see the king interact with a pure little human child. See if he hates all humans then. That's a good point. I think he probably would. I think what he would do is if the child was in his way, he would just like glare at them and push them aside. I think that's what he would do. It's only if there is a character arc. I don't know if there is going to be a character arc for the king. I think that we are definitely going to be seeing some of the king's backstories, and I think it would be cool. Like, I like the whispers and stuff enough to where I want to see at the end of some episodes, I want it to cut to the king and the whispers, and then, like, you know, just like a quick, like, 3 or 4 minute segment of them doing their interaction and talking and stuff like that. So we see the king and we get to know some of the whispers, or in that case, they would be the elite knights. But we would see them, and so we would get to know the king a little bit, and then closer to the end, we would see some of the king's backstories and things like that. So what if he doesn't know that the child is human? Then he likes the child and later finds out that the child is indeed human. It would depend on if he views them as human. I think that's where it comes down. That's what it comes down to. In his mind, if he views them as a human, I think he would just hate them. At least he would start off by hating them, and then, like, unless if something really changed where he was like, okay, this human's fine, that's how we would view. So I think if he doesn't know the child is human and he just, like, sees this child and thinks it's like an elf or whatever, he would probably be fine with it. And then it depends on how close he got with the child. Like, if he found out, like, an hour later of, like, taking care of it, like, he took it home and, like, assuming that he wasn't necessarily a king, like, he just had a normal life. If he took it home and, like, an hour later found out it was a human, he'd probably throw the human out. But if he, like, started raising the child maybe a little bit, he would view them less as a human and more as, like, one of his own, because he started raising them. What if the child is dressed up, maybe? It depends on if he, first of all, views them as human or knows that they are, for a fact, human. Sarah, should we pull up the Whisper doc? Is Sermo human? Oh, if he dies, Lalan should die as well. I think it'd be kind of fun to have Lalan stay alive. And just... I think, since he's the most loyal, I would assume, he would escape. And since he's so loyal, he would try to continue living out the king's wishes. And so I think it would be interesting for him to escape and then like the series would end with them not knowing where he is, but that would leave for the potential to bring him back as a potential enemy again. I think that could be fun. No, against that. Ceremo was Leshy. Oh. Oh, I don't get Lalan. Okay. Although, okay, I do think it would be interesting for at least a couple of the loyal Whispers maybe to stay alive. I want the series to end on a note to where it could continue. That's how I want to end it. I don't think the king's raising a child. I don't... Why is... I think this is just hypothetical, right? You're saying hypothetically if you were to. Yeah, I suppose the only way to get the king to change his beliefs at all would be to make him see that humans are not as bad as he thinks. Oh, Lalan is loyal to the king as a person, not his ideals. Okay. Okay, so in which... Okay. Okay. So... Revoked. So did we decide that the king is going to be more insecure about, or like, are we keeping it the way that we had last said? I think we are, right? Many details in the Whisperers chat. Yeah, we need to compile all of that onto the document. Sad. Oh man. Yeah, it might make sense for Lalan and the king to fight together, although I don't know if that would be too hard for Luna and Nico. I don't know how Luna and Nico are going to win, but if they were to fight together, they could die together. How will the king die? I don't know. I assume from some great magic blast from Blake. Probably. And my I want characters to get hurt complex kicked in and was like, you know what? It'd be cool if Blake did this huge blast and then even Luna and Nico got caught in it and were hurt and had to heal. But I just like forgetting important things. I guess I do. I do. What did I forget this time? Oh, of how the king dies? Was that what I forgot? Yeah, I don't remember how he dies. Right, okay. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember what I had in my head for that. Finally beat the king by setting free all of the lost souls that they did with, like they did with Callisto. But without bodies to go back to, they just attack the king, taking all of his mana until there are none left. That's right. The lost souls are like, we're getting our revenge. That could be a really cool scene. Like, I envision all the lost souls, you know, sort of like a stream flowing into him. And then it's like, you know. But how do they free the lost souls? That's the question. At some point, I think this is an outdated idea, but I thought at some point it was he had some sort of like gem or something that they had to break. But I don't know if that's still accurate. I think at this point Callisto is still is with them. I think Callisto is with the crew. So it's Callisto, Blake, Luna, and Nico. They're all there. And they're all fighting the king. And possibly some whispers at the same time. What, you don't want that? I thought that's what we had decided a long time ago. Pulling on his body as if they were feeding on him like a lion. That is not a good image in my head. The gem is what was outdated. Okay, so then we don't know what we're doing. Seems like the king just has bad luck. He does have the bad luck because we are writing him that way. It's just how he is. Evil will always be perished. Check Discord. Does this describe the final thing? Alright, let's see. The battle for Callisto begins now. Blake has been doing research for years, but has just now been able to find anything that helps him get his soul back. Luna and Nico are tasked with going to the soul realm and finding Callisto's soul, while Blake does his best to distract the king and the bottom 5 whispers. Luna and Nico conceive a lost soul to guide them, or convince a lost soul to guide them through the soul realm, and will help them find Callisto's soul. Once they bring the soul back, a series of flashbacks show the king, Blake, and Callisto. The king is in pain from Callisto's freed soul, taking back the soul shards that he needs. A beaten down Blake gasps as the other half of his soul returns to his body, or to his original body. Blake looks up, and as the camera follows, we see Callisto walking through a portal. Blake and Callisto exchange sweet words to each other as Luna and Nico return from the soul realm. The king leaves the rest up to the Whisperers, but things still look bleak for the 4 protagonists. It's 4 against 5, and Blake is injured from the previous fight, but then Blake smirks and explains how his magic has been significantly depleted since his soul was split. Nico interrupts him, saying to the Whisperers, "You fools, you haven't seen his true power." Blake, Callisto, Luna, and Nico fight the Whisperers, and the protagonists win, but one ends up escaping. Completely forgot about that. Yeah, okay, this is semi-outdated, and obviously anything could change at this point. So this is just what we had written up till now. Could change. But this is sort of, I guess, what we were writing back whenever this was written. Feels like forever ago. Feels like forever ago. Oh, I guess this is cut off a little bit, sorry. Yes, okay. We have sort of gone away from the king and started talking about the story. We need to go back to the king. Okay. How should we write that the king is like, you know, he tries to be funny and he wants to be liked by people and he's kind of insecure. How can someone write a good description? Because I don't know what the best way to put that would be. I mean, I could just put it like that, but like that's kind of boring. What message do you send to the reader by killing the king? The king, I think the king dying is the result of his stubbornness. And so the message would be probably to be open to everyone's ideas and not to be super close-minded. I think that's what the message would be there, because the king is so close-minded and not willing to make any changes whatsoever, and he didn't even hear anybody out for their own opinions. Like, he just believes in those core ideals that he has, and because of that, and because he just didn't listen to them, and like, even though the world was gonna die, he needed to leave, so that way Ilaria could see another day. Why did his ideology lose? Because it's not right. I mean, it's not necessarily, like, I would say he was a relatively good king. It's just he took it to the extreme. He took it to the extreme, and the extreme did not allow for other people to have any input. Yeah. And because nobody else had a say, the world was gonna die. And the only way that the two worlds would survive is if they came together. And the king is like, that is the thing that I do not want the most, and that's why he had to go. Yeah, the worlds would literally die because the king is too stubborn to see past his own beliefs. That is. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna use this. This is pretty good. Genuinely sincere with his actions in the crowds of Ilaria. This is also good. I will write this too. Thank you guys for your help. I don't think he would be insecure with those that he does not like. Okay, actually. Insecure, let's say. With those he doesn't like in all humans, there we go. Okay, that's formatted a little bit better. You think he should know? Okay, I think... I mean, it makes sense for the king to know. Like, that's something that the king should know. As far as, like, Ilaria is going to die. But... I don't know why he refuses to do anything about it. If it's his own arrogance as far as, like, nah, it's gonna be fine. Or if it's just he refuses to do it because he can't get over the fact that humans are there. And that's the only way to solve it. Like, possibly, he just doesn't care that Ilaria is crumbling down. I think it makes more sense if he's like, you know what? I don't care if Ilaria dies, because at least it will have stayed the way I wanted it forever. You know? Maybe what he needs is to stop by force, stop his goal. Sometimes you must let go. The king is not someone who can easily let go, I don't think, though. I think that's the biggest issue, is the king believes in his ideals so much. Like, that's sort of his character. Like, that's sort of what defines him as a character, is that when it comes down to it, his beliefs rule his life. And like, they have elevated from something just like something he believes in, but they are literally his driving life force. And he sees it as, if he cannot have those with that way of life or whatever, then to him there's just no point in even living at that point. That's like how far he has taken that to the extreme. That's who he is as a character, I think. Need more water. Okay, I think we need to continue filling out this document. Because we have half an hour left. This time has gone by very fast. You regret making him cute? I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, maybe that's because I don't see the cuteness in things, but is he cute? I don't know. He looks evil to me. Like his glare is like, I'm gonna get you. I do like his hair though. His hair is kind of nice. I feel like he trusts his belief so much that when dying, he would say something like, I would rather die than defy my beliefs. I actually really like that. I'm gonna write that down because I think, yeah, I like his design too. I think it's good. There we go. I'll write this down here so that way we have it forever. Okay, yes. What type of antagonist is he? Let's put this right here. I think this sums it up pretty well. Not evil, but has strong beliefs, but strong. There we go. What the heck? There we go. Perfect. And didn't go into any shape or form of how you would have liked. Well, I think with how we wrote the story, this is the best option. Back to what you were saying, he notices that Ilari is dying and he's trying to stop himself, but needs to work with humans and doesn't want to. I don't even think... Like, I think he would realize that that's the only way out. But, like this line says, he would rather die than defy his beliefs. And I think that's perfect. Like, I really like that. Like, I think... characters, I think, are, at least villains, are more intimidating when they have beliefs they fully back. And so I think this will make him a lot more intimidating, because it's like, he is literally putting his life on the line for the final battle. Like, he is literally putting his life on the line because he views it as a do or die situation, or like a kill or be killed. And so I think that would make for a much better battle, because, you know, it's just gonna be like, I have to win, or else my beliefs crumble. And if my beliefs crumble, I die. So the idea of him being nice but evil at the same time makes no sense to me, and is clearly evil, worth death, and now it's nice. Okay, it's his beliefs. The idea of it is that you don't exactly... Like, you're never going to always understand everyone, right? And so this is... I personally can't relate too much to the king. But this is how his character is. So even if we personally cannot, you know, relate to it, which it sort of makes sense that we can't relate and understand that line of reasoning, because it's a very radical reasoning. It's very far out there. And so it's probably actually a good thing that you can't relate and fully understand his reasoning, because it's probably not a very good mindset to have. So it's probably a good thing. Passion is so great, turns actions around, and he can be so valuable for the right side. So somehow, he'd have like a redemption instead of death. Like I said, I don't know. He's been. You have to keep in mind that, like, with time, sure, people can change, right? But he's been doing the exact same thing for over 1,000 years. And I don't know if, like, that's a lot longer to believe in something. And so I don't... Stubborn is not a reason to die. You're right. Being stubborn is not a reason to die. But if your stubbornness is literally causing the end of humanity, then that's a different argument there, right? Because you're putting your own stubbornness in yourself in front of literally everyone else. And everyone else is gonna die. So that's why it's bad. Yeah. Yeah, he kills people that doesn't follow his beliefs instantaneously. Yep. That's... He's too far gone. Like his beliefs rule his life, and that's not good. Luna and Nico aren't gonna kill him though. The lost souls, the people who he killed, are going to come back and kill him. So Luna and Nico could go into it full well expecting to just try to, you know, like, capture him, right? But in the end, I think it makes sense for the Lost Souls to come in and kill him. I think it makes sense for the Lost Souls to kill him. Like, that could be a dramatic scene. What are his core beliefs? His core beliefs are... I don't know what the best way to put it is. But... He believes that humans are bad. He believes that I guess we did put periods at the end here. He believes that there should be a singular entity, like there needs to be a king. Else, king has to public as far as wanting to make their lives better. Does he wear a mask in public? Not really. Why does he push Earth away? And why is he wrong about that? In his past, he had with humans. So he just humans are this way. He needs to get over his past and accept that the only way for to okay, that's good. How does he choose whispers? This is interesting. How? I think he would choose whispers based on if they A, are strong enough, and B, he feels like he can gain something from them being a whisperer, probably. What do anyone else have any input? First they have a duel for the spot, and then the king tests their loyalty to him. So you're thinking like the whisperer would duel the king, and then he would do some sort of test to do their loyalty. I think that's good. But how does he, like, if he's looking for another whisperer, how does he initially choose who to duel? Oh, duel another knight / whisperer. Okay, okay. So maybe like he would call in like Lalan or something to just like be like, okay, go duel them and see how good they are, right? There could be a tournament specifically for the Whisperer spot. Well, it wouldn't necessarily be for the Whisperer spot, but it would be for the Elite Knight spot, I think. But also, that would also mean a Whisperer. And then the loyalty test could be something like, do this really immoral thing, because if you don't do it, then that would mean that you're not loyal to me. And then they would kill you for not being loyal. Okay, I like that. Does anyone have... Eat this mushroom pet? Yeah. The Whisperers are a secret to most of society. The only people who really know them are the Cardinals and like the people up at the top. The Elite Knights are what the public sees. And so he would... I assume that the king would be like... I actually really like that idea. Here's the knight tournament, like the highest tournament that you can do. Wait, the top of the top. And you're gonna fight in that and see who can become the next Elite Knight. But for Solstice's family specifically, they sort of have a tradition where her family usually have high rankings and have been in positions. Okay. Yeah, I suppose the king could also scout people. Two ways. One, he thinks they would be a good fit. Two, actually, how did Mr. Foot write it? There could be a tournament specifically for the Whisper spot. And then after that, they have a duel for the spot. To test their strength. Okay, I think that's good. Maybe this is one of the reasons why he has his monthly rounds in Ilaria. Possibly, yeah. I think that he would always sort of know what's going on because the Whispers would sort of give him insight as to what's going on around Ilaria. But he could also want to go out and see for himself as well. Okay, that's good. Does he care about anyone? I think he does. He cares about most people, but when it comes down to it, he will always put beliefs first. Does he have a son? I don't think there's a need for one at this point. Probably not. Okay, cool. Yes, he does die. Unless if someone thinks of a really good way. But I think his death could be very impactful if we do it correctly. I would be fine with the king having a son. I just don't see a reason for it at this point. Like, we sort of have it all planned out, and we don't really need a son, you know? Like, if we had a good reason to have one, sure, why not? Or if we were like, yes, let's have a son, and that son would be the escaper, and he would go away and be an antagonist in a future spin-off or something. But that's pretty cliche, so. Okay, anyone else have anything else related to the king before we get on to what we're doing next week? And then I also want to know how we should do the recap episode, because I don't know. Any final things to add to this document? I think this was a pretty productive stream. We also talked a lot about the story, which is good. Many. Yes, I know. You don't like where this is headed. But sometimes there has to be evil people, and sometimes they have to die. That's just the way it is. unfortunately. But I don't think we're going to kill off too many characters. I think he's going to be one of the only ones. And then possibly Lan Lan and stuff like that. Well, I mean, yeah. But I'm talking about, like, main characters. Like, I don't like necessarily killing off main characters too much. The king's death, I think, is necessary, though. Can you have a sentence summary of the king's son? Sure, he does not exist. There you go. At least as of right now. The king... There's no need for there to be a son at this point. I don't think it'll be a Disney... I want the death to be very impactful and meaningful. I don't want it to just be like, haha, we're killing him because that's what we've written, right? Like, I want it to have meaning, and for the viewers to see it as like, wow, you know, like he was a good guy, and he wanted the best for people, but he sort of, in the end, he sort of deserved it, right? And it has to feel like, dang. And by having all of the souls that he killed come back and kill him in the end, that also is very meaningful, because it's like, you know, what goes around comes around, right? So I think it will be impactful. How would the Ilarians react to his death? That's a good question. I have no idea. They probably wouldn't believe it at first. But it's going to be really chaotic after it first happens. It seems sad. I mean, sure, you might be sad that the king is dead. There were a couple of people who also agree with you. And sure, he's a relatively good person. His beliefs are a little out of whack. And in order for everyone to move on, he had to die. That was bad. Okay. Yes, good point. We need to discuss what we're doing next week. Ilarian business stream. I think businesses will come a little later once we develop more towns. I think, well, maybe not. I don't know. Holidays I'll have on Ilaria. Okay, that's more of a niche thing, I think, and that would have to be combined with other topics. If Ilarians like the king, wouldn't their death enrage it? Probably. So you would have to have people explain the reasoning behind it and stuff like that, and sort of explain his true nature a little bit. It'd be a rough period right there. We have a lot to do for world building. I think we're getting to a point where it will be helpful to make a map. We could do a Code Geass, and the Code Geass was so good. Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Code Geass. I want to rewatch it here soon, actually. I watched it like a year ago, and I want to rewatch it again. But, trying to remember specifically what happened, because it has been a little while. A map. Okay. I think map would be helpful. I have no idea how we should do the map. And I have no idea what that is going to look like. Does anyone have any ideas as to how that would look? And how we should make the map? Because here's the thing, I don't know the best way to go about making the map. I don't know what that would look like necessarily. But I think it would be kind of good to have to develop all of the different areas on Ilaria and stuff like that. And so I know that there's different map softwares out there. I just don't know. Like, I'd have to do some research onto that. And, I don't know how good of a stream that would be. I mean, we could definitely make it work. It would just be a little weird. It'd be a weird stream. We're gonna make one that's 3D or like... I think a 3D one would look cool and would help a lot in visualizing what it would look like. I just don't really know what we could do for that. But I think eventually we will need a 2D at least. Because a 2D is a very quick, like, you know, we can see what it looks like, right? But a 3D one, we can actually explore the world a little bit and have a good, clear image of what it would look like. We just have a person play the role of the villain. They killed the king for Luna and Nico. And find him and punish him. So it looks like they avenged their dead king. Yeah. Remember the imaginative one with the water world in the middle? Yeah. Honestly, I mean, like, that might be the better option. I mean, there definitely has to be a clever way to do it. Otherwise, I do think there is going to be civil unrest, and that could not be good. So we'll just have to brainstorm on that. So everyone could be thinking on that and see what would the best way be for Luna and Nico to come in here and be like, we're changing things up around here, you know. Or get the king betrayed. Or, okay, here's an interesting idea. What if Luna and Nico want to capture the king, right? They don't want to kill the king. But the king is like, he's about to be captured, and he's like, I don't want to be captured. I'd rather die. And so he orders Lalan to kill him, right? And so Lalan does it, and then or Lalan releases the lost souls or something. And so it is Lalan's fault that the king dies. And then Lala lets Luna or Blake or whoever kill him instead. So that way it's Lalan is seen as the bad guy. And you have to keep in mind Lalan is at the bottom of the Elite Knight chart. So the public already isn't liking him as much. I don't necessarily like that ending, but that's an option. I'm just spitballing here. Okay, maybe we have to map out the specific islands first, and then the whole world. Yeah, I don't know. I will have to do some research on that. I don't know how we're going to do that stream, or if it even is going to be a stream, or if it's going to be like a Discord thing. I don't know. For now, let's assume there will be a stream next week, because I think I could probably make it work. But I will do some research next week, and I will be talking in the Discord, and I will explain the situation and explain what the plan is going to be. The issue with maps are I think they would take a lot longer. So I don't know. It's just gonna be, I'm gonna have to think about it. If Luna and Nico want to get the king gives the notebooks to Lalan so they won't find it. Lalan betrays the king because when he sees him almost dead, he gives the notebooks to the good side. He betrayed, and he was the last owner, and he gets killed by the souls, and the king is in jail keeping the guilt. No one cares if Lalan knows who he was, but the king knows. That could be interesting. I would be fine with that. Something tells me Mr. Fruit's not going to be as happy with that one, but we'll see. I kind of like that. You didn't understand. So basically the king is in this bad situation, and you know how the king has to like give up the notebooks and whatnot, right? So the king would give up the notebooks to Lalan, and he would order Lalan to go run away, right? Lalan, since he's loyal to the king and wants to protect him to the end, he would then give in to Luna and Nico, and he would be like, all right, look, take the notebooks, just let the king go or whatever, right? And so then, at some point, there would be some sort of interaction where Luna and Nico would get the notebooks from Lalan, but then they would still end up having to lock up the king. Not the jail where you have to solve the Rubik's Cube. Yeah. Should be stuck in the human world as punishment? I don't... Maybe... But it's not like, once he's in prison, he's not really going to know where he is, so I don't think it matters too much. Okay. Yeah, well, I would be fine with that alternate ending. Oh, right. Oh, you said the Lost Soul would come in and kill Lalan, and then that would mean that Luna and Nico could get the notebooks. That's right. That could work. That would explain it. Yeah. I would be fine with that. That would work with me too. The king should pay the same way he did to others. Feel powerless. Yeah, that would be just torture for the king, though. Like absolute torture. Oh shoot. Sorry, guys. That was probably really bad. Did not mean to do that. Anyway, okay. Anyone have any last minute suggestions for how this recap episode should go? I'm thinking I'm just gonna re-record all of this because like a lot of what we did was discussion, and it's gonna take forever for me to like go through the entire stream and find out what specific lines I need to put in here. So I think it'll be easier for me to just re-record, you know, going over this stuff and explaining it. So I think that's how I'm gonna do the recap episode. Or he could be killed by his mana being drained. Just like how he killed so many doing the same. Just feel pain, not die. Well, I mean, okay. The other side of that is, you know, he would rather die than defy my beliefs, and it would be like, yes, if you wanted to punish the king for being evil, then sure, you can lock him up. But at the same time, it's like, if you were sad that the king would die because, you know, he's a relatively good person just with bad morals, or not morals, but like bad core beliefs based on the past, if you wanted to respect him more as a character, you would want him to die, because then he would at least, you know, stay true to what he believes in. But honestly, I think locking him up would be the more cruel ending. So if you wanted him to be locked up and face punishment, then sure. Just like Luna and Nico now. Nah. Luna and Nico are just trying to make the world stay alive. Like, that's all they're trying to do. They're just... The world's gonna end if they don't step in. And so they have to step in. What about Blake? Blake has the same goal as them, too. Anyway. I think we're good for this week. Right? This was a good discussion. So, if you don't have any last minute questions for next week or whatever, if you have any ideas for how to do the map, or like software or programs to like make a 3D map or whatever, let me know in the Discord, because I will be looking for suggestions and we'll have to do some research on that. So the only way for Blake to be with Callisto, well, that's not true, but like, I would think that Blake would want to prevent this from happening from anyone else, so he would want the king gone. We don't entirely know how the king dies, or if he does die or not. That's up for discussion still. So, yes, but that's again, that's more story versus more character. Actually, I'm just gonna get rid of this because we never planned for him to have a son in the first place, so he does not have a son. Okay. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you all for joining me again this week. It was fun as always. Very productive, I think, today. We got a lot of good discussion in. And I will probably see you next week. Unless if, like, I don't know, I decide that making a map on a stream isn't good. But I'm pretty sure, as long as I can figure out what I'm doing, there will probably be a stream next week. If I can't figure out, like, a good program and I need to do more research or something, then there may not be a stream next week. So, we will see. But, yes. Hopefully, we can work on the map. And be brainstorming, like maybe just take, like a piece of paper and, like, sketch, like, how you envision a city or, like, an island looking. Because then we can use that as inspiration. Light doesn't want people dead, but punished. To him, they're thieves. Death's worse than death. Like watching yourself in a mirror. Seeing that your lover is not there. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, I don't know. It's a discussion for another day. So, yeah, I will see you next week, probably. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a fantastic week. Second. Is this the second week of something? I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you later.